Hello all, hopefully you're with me. One day I'm going to get used to knowing that I've done this right and that I'm not just talking to myself in a little room. So if you're with us, please let us know that you're here. Let me know in the comments that you've joined us and that you can hear us okay, so that I can carry on waffling for a little while. We have got one big evening for you tonight. We're going to introduce you to all of the products which are launching on Create and Craft next week. So there's lots to share with you. It's probably not as big a show as we did for the last show, but that's because we have to sort of eke things out for all of us, don't we? Us and you. So, but what I think we're bringing you is a really lovely collection that I have a feeling you're going to fall in love with. I'm hoping you're going to fall in love with. But as always, let us know in the comments so that we see what you think of it, because it's most important to us. Oh, I can see people are with us. Good evening, Joanne. And yes, Peter's here.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Joanne. Joanna, sorry.
Let's see. There's Pete. Wave from the end, Pete. Please excuse the mess. We are in
don't look at that.
continual chaos, but we've got a Peter in the room. He's mostly here, A, to keep me on track, B, to make sure I don't tell you too much, because I would probably tell you everything in the world, and C, if I forget anything, you can go and get it. Tonight we're not really going to be doing demos. It's going to be more talking to you about what's launching and showing you through it. But I'm thinking I might squidge in a few little tips and tricks and bits with bits that we're going to be launching. So we'll probably save the proper demos to the shows on Create and Craft, but we'll give you some teaser bits of what it can do and how it works, and hopefully why you might need it and what you'd be doing with it if you do decide to purchase these bits. So I started a little bit early, so I'm just trying to make sure that you all join in with us here. So evening Mary, evening Catherine, evening Carol, and hello Wendy. Now I haven't told you this already, but Pete's got a cold. So if you hear some sniffing,
I apologise.
Snorting,
I apologise in advance. Sorry, guys.
It's a bad week to give him a microphone, I'm afraid. But he's okay, and of course it's okay. It's a cold.
Exactly.
But it's nice to have him with us. So please excuse the odd cough and snort in the background. It's not me, I promise. Evening, Andrew. Lovely to have you with us. Hello, Judy. Lovely to have you with us as well. Evening, Kim. So have we all had a good day? Have we been looking forward to the live? Do you have any guesses on what we might be launching this time? It's been a roller coaster few months, isn't it? We've brought out so many amazing products, or hopefully you feel they're amazing products. And today I'm hoping you're going to agree that these are great additions to go to the collections already. I'm trying to think actually, and I should know this, but I don't suppose we're not overly building on anything that we've done before today. There will be buildings to different bits as we move forward in collections, but this one's a bit of a new collection really from beginning to end. Now I'm just teasing, aren't I? I should just shut up and show you, but I will, I promise. Evening, Deborah. Hello, Sandra. Lovely to have you with us, Lynn. Oh, sound is not wonderful. That's good to know. Thank you. I'll give it a little tweak and see if it's me. If you look at my neck, and this could be half the reason, I look really red, don't I? I have a very sensitive neck, and it's just where I've changed jumpers. So if you catch it and look like Pete's attacked me, he hasn't, I promise. But we'll have a little look. Oh,
you could have my microphone.
So let's swap. This is the first time we've attempted to do double mic. So it could be that our system doesn't like it. So if it doesn't get better, let me know and we'll turn Pete off. We're still learning. I'm sorry. You know that we're going to have issues. I had one of them days actually, and you haven't tuned in to be my therapist. I had one of them days where everything that was planned has sort of derailed and gone off on slightly different tangents. So it's fitting that today we'd have a couple of issues. So let's have a little look. Oh, we're 7:04, so I really ought to stop chattering and show you some bits, shouldn't I? Let's have a little look. That's way better. Good, thank you. I love this. Thank you for letting me know. If you don't tell us, we don't know. We can't fix it. So that's grand to hear. Thank you. All it means is we can't hear Pete quite so well, which is possibly good because he is a little bit. To say snotty sounds wrong, doesn't it? You're not snotty, but a bit nasally. There is a lot of bugs around. Hi, Jamie and Pete. Something wrong with the sound. Hopefully we've caught up with that, Maureen, and you can hear us now. So, okay, I believe that we are all good and going. So shall we start introducing you to new products? Because that's the exciting bit, isn't it? Is actually seeing what we're going to be doing. So let's start off with our first stamp, and we'll take you to the overhead for these so you can actually see them. So we are doing a few stamps. This is quite exciting. I love stamping and I love getting to share with you what we're doing stamp-wise and bringing you slightly new concepts and different items. So this is our first background stamp on a more floral basis that isn't Christmas themed, because you might remember we did a what did we do? We did a melody one, didn't we? Christmas melody. Poinsettia melody. This is a similar concept. By that, what I mean is it's a pattern match stamp. So you can go in any direction. So if you choose to stamp this one and then stamp above it, beside it, in any direction, the pattern continues. And you might wonder, well, why do I need that? This is all about giving you the ability to make scrapbook pages, to make boxes, to make wrapping paper, whatever you wish to. Your only limitation from this point in is the size of paper you're working with, and then of course how you wish to stamp it. So this is our first one, which is Floral Melody, and hopefully you're going to fall in love with this one because it's absolutely beautiful. I'll give you a little bit more of a lift up so you can see here what we're looking at, and I'm going to bring in some bits for you. Now, pattern match is all about pattern matching, and it's all about going big and bold. So here's my first little sample and tease for you. I only did these last night. I'm a little bit behind actually, and I shouldn't confess this, but I am a little bit behind. So as we go through some of the samples and bits and we sort of introduce bits, you'll get to see bits I haven't actually finished, along with lots that we have finished, but hopefully it'll give you a chance to see bits in processes as well. So you'll see them finished in time, but it's quite nice to see them in this beginning stage as well. So this one is a 12 by 12 approximately, and I've gone ahead and I've stamped it out, matching it up, and then coloured it in with alcohol markers. I've used some of our Elite Misters to colour over it, and you might also spot in the background, if I lift this up a little, there's some script going on. That script will be coming up shortly. There are lots of stamps to introduce you to. That is one of them that will be featured shortly. Now, you don't have to colour these if you don't want to. This one is one I've done on white card and I've stamped it in blue ink. This is our Emperor blue ink, and then I've misted it with our Night Sky Navy misters. And I actually really like this because I don't think you're going to get to see this. And I don't know if it's even the right description. I suppose I should say it looks a little bit like fabric, but it for some reason reminds me of a tattoo where the ink that you've stamped in kind of goes like it's bumpy and sits slightly on top when you mist it. And it gives a really lovely, like a flock. Yeah, like a flock, isn't it? Like flocked wallpaper style. So it's not about colouring. You don't have to colour if you don't want to. So we can, if you wish, you can mist. So again, in blue, using our light blue mister, which is seashell blue. So just 3 different ideas there straight off the bat on how you could take this and work with it, whether you want large concepts or small concepts. Now, of course, we can do small with this as well. It's one of them stamps that we can focus in on smaller areas. So if you do wish to, again, we can use this and bring it in to stamp. This is in our Piggy Pink. So stamped in Piggy Pink over our scalloped edge nesting squares, and then built together with some of the new Cosmos flowers. And again, this is important to me because although we're launching a new collection, I also want you to see how well that's going to work with your previous collections. So we've got Best Wishes coming in here from the Floral Lace collection. We've got the Essential collection for the butterfly. We've got the Kaleidoscope collection for the flower, and then the nesting shapes going through these ones as well. So it's all a bit of a mix, but that to me is what this should all be about, is bringing your collections together and making them all work for you and building up a bigger story. Very simple, just DL card. I know DL is still very, very popular, and of course having a DL stamp means we can of course make very pretty, very quick, very easy DL stamps. Again, bringing it on, it's gone, come back. Bringing in the Floral Lace sentiments, and of course our little Thinking of You sentiment, which we launched last month too. So again, bringing bits together in new ways. I've missed a few hellos, haven't I? So let's have a little look. We've had June join us. Hello, June. Hello, Zoe. Lovely to have you here. Carol, that's beautiful. That's nice to hear. Thank you. Judy, that's beautiful. We like that. And Lynn, I know it's a bit weird, isn't it? I don't know how that works. And if you look at me, I'm covered in misters. I've been painting and misting on and off all day in my day of chaos. So still very multicoloured. Now, 2 last samples to share with you from that stamp, because I'm kind of wary today. I don't want to show you everything. There's got to be some surprises. Next week on Create and Craft, we've got 4 hours of shows. So, of course, the products are going to be there. but we'll also have lots more samples from myself and the design team. I haven't got a single design team sample here yet. I've purposely held off bringing them in today, so we'll have them for the shows next week. Show times, because I haven't told you this, have I? That's the important bit that I haven't done. I always forget to do bits. This is one of them. So we're on Tuesday, 8th of October at 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. And then I'm back in on Wednesday, the 9th of October at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So 6 and 9 on the 8th, which is Tuesday, and 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Wednesday the 9th. And if I look up, it's because I'm cheating. If I don't write it down, I'll never remember. So if you need a prompt again, remind me and I'll tell you later. I'll also put it in the comments at the end of the live so that you've got it in there, and you'll see it on lots of shares as well over the next couple of days. So it won't be far away, but we're counting down the hours virtually, aren't we? It's not far. So these are fun. These are our MDF tags. Now we've had our MDF tags out for a little while. I don't know what I've done on the backs of some of these. I've been using the backs as little colour sort of swatches. But these are our MDF tags. I've left them uncoated. I've not covered them in gessos or paints. I've stamped directly onto them, and then I've coloured them in with alcohol markers. We might even have a little play and do one of these shortly, because it's something I really, really like. So it'll be fun to have a little play with that as well. Now, I'm missing out on comments. I see it moving up in the corner of my eye. What have we got? Hello, Porsche. Lovely to have you with us. Joanne, please bring out DL dies in all of your wonderful shapes and pierce stitched in dies. I'm going to bring you back to me. That is something we're working on. You've suggested this on our live last week, I believe, and it is looking to be, it is something that is already on the drawing board. Yeah, it will happen. I keep telling you this. We plan, or are trying to plan, many months in advance. So we're currently looking for products about March, April next year. So any new fresh ideas, you're looking there onwards. So bear with us. That might be able to be brought forward slightly, but there's no promises. But it's being worked on. We've got a lot of our nesting shapes to fit in. We're not launching any new ones on this show, but next month there might be some new ones, is all I'm going to say. No, I can't tell you everything, can I? But there might be new ones next month, and there is several shapes coming. So carrying on, because I'm told I'm only meant to be here for an hour, and I'm 12 minutes in already, and we haven't even shown you more than one item. So I'm going to try and speed up a little bit. So the next one we're going to look at, now this is again something that's important to me. When we talk about background stamps, I want you to have coordinating elements that run through. So I'm going to keep this one here for a little while. We're going to go on to our larger set. So in my mind, background, foreground. Again, you might be wanting to do scrapbook pages, you might be wanting to use this on your gift bags, it might be bigger projects you want to do with it, but I want you at every opportunity to have that background that's going to coordinate in perfectly. So same designs brought forward, slightly enlarged for that focal area. With this one, we've got with love, a stem rose, a happy birthday, a little heart, and the main rose itself. Very easy to cut around this one. So if you do want to layer it and bring in some depth to it, very, very simple to do. This, of course, again, and I don't think I told you this is the Floral Wonder Collection. So the first one was Floral Melody in the Floral Wonder Collection. This one is the Rose in the Floral Wonder Collection. Just a couple of samples quickly. Very easy, just colouring in. This one's done on one of our, I always forget, foiled inkables. Oh, I think I got it right this time. I don't think he was here for the live the other day where I called them something like foilable inkables or something. It went terribly wrong. I can never remember names. But again, coloured in with alcohol markers and then layered with some of our decollage squares and our stitch squares, building it up. Then another simple one for you, similar concept, slightly smaller, bringing this time in the scallop squares with the pierced dots and the happy birthday from the stamp set as well. And then I told you I got a bit carried away with tags, haven't I? So these again will be on the show. They are already released, but they will be on the show next week. And there's lots of different tags for you to stock up on. And again, different ways to use them, going more for sort of small tags right the way up to your large tags. And with this one, or both of these, you are seeing our Lattice. Our Lattice is another stamp I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. So keep an eye out for that one. You're also seeing the script stamp used in the reverse here. You've got the With Love, and then again, bringing back from the Floral Lace collection, we've got the Thinking of You sentiment. So trying to build your collections out, making sure everything works for you as well. Joanne, even if future plans, it's awesome. Yeah, well, I know a lot of companies don't necessarily tell us of what's coming, do they? But I actually think it's quite nice that you know what's coming and that you know that each time we bring you releases, not only is it about what's here today, it's about where they're going to go and what you're going to have to work with in the future. And equally as important, like you're seeing with some of the samples, bringing back bits that are already out and showing you how you're going to make use of them bits that you've possibly already got or have been thinking, well, do I need that or don't I? Well, now's possibly the time that you think, well, actually, that really works together. So to us, it really is about building out a library and a catalogue. Everyone has to do what's right for them, don't they, as brands and companies. But more as we move through time, companies move on very quickly through bits. I suppose with me and Pete, we sort of more want to build you a catalogue that you're going to be able to add to and come back to and see that if you buy something 3 or 4 months ago and you know next year you're still going to have a reason to bring that back out of your cupboard and work with it, what we've bought you today. So it's all about interchangeability. I go on about this, don't I? But to me, interchangeability is key. And again, sticking with that theme, really, we move on to the anemone. So this time, have I got that right? You smirked.
Oh, I get very confused with anemone or anemone.
I can never. It's our very pretty flower that looks a little bit like a poppy. So with this one, and I'll work on that before I'm on telly. So this one, beautiful flower. Again, butterfly, best wishes, thinking of you. Same flower you're going to see in the background panel. So you've got choices here. Do we go background and then foreground with our rose, or do we go for our flower? Where do we wish to go? Where do we want to build up? This is, again, bringing you more options. When we go to the samples for this one, we can go for really little cards if we want to. We can go for our larger cards. Again, everyone I show this one to says it looks like a poppy. I kind of aimed for that with my nice red colouring this time of alcohol markers. And here again, we've brought back the regal corners. These again are going to be on the Create and Craft shows next week. So you'll be able to add them to your collections of your corners if they're not ones you've already got hold of. But with this stamp, very much colour is key in creating different styles, different effects. This one's also got the kaleidoscope butterfly used on the background. So it also brings that in so that you can see those working together. So they're 3 of our samples from this one. Last one for you on that one is a tag. You're going to see lots of tags today. It's all about building up the tags. Again, stamped in the background with a Latin text, stamped on here with our flowers, and then built on the birthday wishes and the little banner from, I believe this is the congratulations banner from the last one. So Judy says, lovely to hear your future plans. Yeah, we're all about honesty. We're all about telling you what's coming. As I say, I feel we can build bigger collections and you can know at what stage and items you want to come into and get hold of if you know what's coming that's going to work with them. So to me, that's quite important. So moving on to that, you might have just noticed a light switch change. I was telling Pete, trying to be discreet, but that made quite a significant difference. Was having a bit of a reflection going on. I'd forgot to turn off one of the lights. So if it just changed, it's not your screen. Hopefully, though, it'll cut down on the reflections on the products. Next one, borders and corners. So again, and this is where this is important, we've gone from the background, we've gone to our foreground. What about your inserts? What about all the bits that are going to coordinate together? Your tags, your bag corners, your every other area you want to bring in to complement, to go with your focal stamps and your background. So same rows, same flowers, same leaves, same foliage, all brought together, but taken through the set. So this is our borders and corners set. So we've got a main focal corner for both, a main flourish for both, and then a main sort of border element for both, if that makes sense. So once again, it's about building out the collection and making sure that everything coordinates together. So they're our first 4 stamps as such. Now I should have some samples for them and I haven't. Oh, I bought them over and forgot to share them. Here we go. So just a quick one, just showing you it's stamped round in a little border. You'll see this turned into a scrapbook page when I'm on telly or possibly beforehand if I share it. But this is, to me, going to end up as an 8x8 scrapbook page at some stage. Then we have little cards because it's all about versatility. So bringing in that smaller flower and just showing you how, even with our sort of, I think this is about 4.5 by 4.5 card, that one stamp can really make all the difference. Going slightly larger, so we're on a 7x7 now. You're going to see these come up soon when we talk about new dies. They're coming, they're new. Show you those in a minute. Then we've got our same banners brought back again, thinking of you. Same scalloped and stitched squares running through the background and our little butterfly to finish off. So again, building up, collecting in together, and our little tag for this one, just to show you that you can really change through the sizes and play around. The colours don't look too great on the screen there, but we've got a lovely yellow rose and then of course green foliage. And I quite like with this one how it kind of rounds out that tag, so it kind of looks a bit like a bubble in the middle for your sentiment, which I think is quite a fun way to create that effect. Now, 2 more stamps to introduce you to, and I've shown you these in stages throughout this collection. So this Floral Wonder Collection ends at the 4 stamps as such to build up all of your backgrounds, foregrounds and bits. But we carry on in this release because I wanted to bring you some everyday backgrounds that are going to work with this. Now, you have possibly seen me go on and on about script stamps for many, many moons. I've got many favourite script stamps. But do you know what I don't have? I don't have a big script stamp. They're all little. And do you know what little script stamp means? Lots of join marks. If I'm going to do an 8x8 card and we're looking at a small stamp, we're going to have joins to the left, the right, and below and everywhere. And that really bothers me. So I decided what we would do was we would bring you a DL script stamp. Now this one is wrote in Latin, so you don't have to worry about it unless you can read Latin, which if you can, very clever, because I certainly can't. But if you can, brilliant. But you don't have to worry about it clashing with if you're doing an Easter card or a Christmas card or a birthday card or a Valentine's card. It's just a really delicate, pretty script that can be used to stamp all the way down your cards, again into larger backgrounds and to make up some really great stunning focals, or again build up the back areas to them if you prefer. So large style script. You've seen this brought in quite a few times, so just a couple of cards now with this one going all the way down. Now this is our elephant grey, actually stamped over the top of the rose. You might look at this and think, well, do I need to mask off the rose? Do I need to cover the rose? The script runs through the background of the rose. I'd stamped the script before the rose, then coloured it in with alcohol markers. And because it's quite a light colour of ink, it's actually stayed quite subdued, so you don't really notice it, which is quite a nice little tip. Then moving on to one of our little MDF tags. So again, Lattice we're going to look at next. Bringing in those corner elements, the border elements, and the script in the background, all before adding on our little banner. So really building up. This one reminds me a bit of a wine label, I don't know why. Or sort of one of them boards you'd see in a fancy restaurant with your sort of top meals on. What do they call them? Favourites. We should know this, Pete. What's the word I'm looking for?
Bin end?
No, bin end? A bin end? I don't think they call them a bin end. That's not what you call it. A specials board. A bin end. Now, confession here, Pete, is that something in the wine world, a bin end then? Am I showing my lack of knowledge? I don't know about wine. I'd like to know about wine. I know nothing about wine. I don't like wine. I wish I liked wine. I think that there's so many flavours that I could go off to. But I do. I think it's like vinegar. Pete, a little bit of waffling. Pete owns a restaurant, very posh restaurant. Or to me, it's posh. Anything above a... No, we won't say what I call it. But he owns a very posh restaurant. And when I got with Pete, I've been with Pete now nearly 12 years. And when I got with Pete, he was like, everybody loves wine. There's a wine for you. We'll find a wine. And I think it took about 10 years before he finally gave up and decided that I really don't like wine. And there was no flavour that would work for me. Very much the same with coffee, but I'd like to like wine. I like the idea that you've got all them choices and all them options. So enough waffling. Sorry, go off on tangents, don't I? Let's have a little look at the last one of our stamps. So I keep trying to take them away. Let's leave them there for the second. And you've seen this one poke through in a couple of the cards, but it's going to be no surprise to you that we have a Lattice stamp. Now again, I love different backgrounds and I love being able to build up from that and create different styles. Lattices are something I go to, whether it's die formats, stamps, embossing folders, stencils, anything with a lattice, I'm there. So to bring you a large format lattice stamp is really important to me because it means that we've got that cool background that again can be used for just about any occasion throughout the year. And again, that's quite important really because it builds out and means that it's an essential we're going to go back to time and time again. So a few different ideas for you. This one ended up, in my mind, a little bit stained glass window-esque, which I quite liked. I do keep thinking I might add a sentiment on the bottom here, but I haven't yet got there. But I may well add one onto this before you see it again. But I wanted to show you how just colouring it in with alcohol markers and going kind of rainbow was quite cool and quite fun. This one is bringing in the lattice, but stamping it twice. So stamping it first of all in the piggy pink, then in the chameleon green, but just dropping it down so that we create that shadow. And of course, this is a pattern match stamp, so it means that you can match the points on the edges to the lattice, so you again can go as large as you wish to, and you can carry that on in any direction. So there's play there that you might wish to layer this stamp over this stamp and create your sort of pattern match going off in different tangents. It's not going to look very nice in packaging, but it could look really lovely actually done and built up. So fun ways in which you're going to be able to use those. Very simple card again, just bringing in another DL. We're talking DL stamps, so it's nice to see DLs. Another one here, bringing in our lovely flower stamp and stamping the lattice in the grey or elephant grey in the background. And again, we've got the butterfly corners. These two will be on the shows on Create and Craft next week. So if you didn't get hold of these on first airings as such, they're coming back. So they'll be on with the regal corners. And I think there's a little bundle maybe with those in. I'm looking for a nod on this. I believe there'll be a little bundle with those. So, and then these, again, bits that are in work, but nice for you to see, just showing you how you can make up different patterns with these using alcohol markers. Something I haven't yet got to try with this, but I'd quite like to, is stamping it and heat embossing it in like a gold or a black on watercolour paper, and then dropping inks into the different sections and letting them sort of radiate out into them, because I think that might look even more like stained glass. It's something that's on my list to try, and we'll see if we can fit that in before the shows, so I can show you that on the shows if we get there, but it's just a different concept for you. Now, you know us, we don't stop there, do we? We don't stop with just here's a stamp with like big apertures that, you know, you need to fill with something. We've got something you can put in them as well. And this, again, we did this concept when we did the pinstripe lines for the Christmas Wishes collection. It was called Christmas Wishes, wasn't it? Yeah, Christmas Wishes collection. So we have for you 2 brand new stencils. So let's get this one out of the way for the second and bring in our stencils. Now, being honest with you, our stencils have only just arrived, and I know that Lynn is here in the comments, and Lynn is one of our incredible design team members, and she's probably sitting there going, stencils? Stencils? I don't have any stencils. I'm sorry, Lynn, you'll get one, I promise, or you'll get both of them, but they're new, they're fresh off the press, so to speak. But these match up perfectly with our lattice stamp. So this means that you can, quite literally, stamp your lattice and then lay over the top your stencil, bring in your inks, bring in your gemstones texture paste, bring in whatever texture paste you want, bring in pixie powders and drop them over the top, whatever medium it is you want to work with. But it suddenly means you can be putting bits into the middles of those lattices and creating some really, really cool effects. Now, of course, this is a standalone stencil, so you don't have to use it with the lattice, but of course it looks really lovely if you do team the two together. Sample wise, as I say, I haven't had this many minutes, so I haven't got much to share with you yet. There'll be more, I promise. But we can emboss these because we can emboss any stencils for our machines with a rubber mat. So embossed through, showing you just how that's going to look as an embossing. Bringing this in with our gemstones texture paste. Now, you know our gemstones texture paste. You love this, don't you? We love this. It's, again, another collection we keep toying with adding to. We only brought out 6 colours last month, which made 12 colours in the collection so far. But there may need to be more in the future, I'm sure. But here's just a couple to share with you over the background before we stamp the lattice. And I'm going to be honest now. Confession time. Peter, this is your first mission. There's 2 cards downstairs being prepped for kits with Mum and Dad. Can you go get them for me, please? Because I was meant to bring them up. They are the lattice ones where it shows you the texture paste in the middle, because you need to see that, don't you? And I forgot to bring them. So we'll get them so you can see that. So, pardon? In theirs, yeah, ask them, they've got them. My parents are amazing. Oh, take you over to this one. Go on, Pete, do your run quickly as Pete runs past the camera. My parents are brilliant because they do my kits for me or with me, so that they help towards the shows and make sure that everything runs smoothly. I said this before on a live, you know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to make everything we do go on behind the scenes. And we're incredibly lucky that not only as a family, but as a network, we've got an incredible network, and that stretches out to Zoe, who does a lot of our technological bits and posts and bits. And then of course we've got Lynn and Ian who does our samples for our design team and pieces like that. So we're very, very lucky. We've got an incredible team. So he'll just go catch them cards and I'll show you those because it'll be nice for you to see them. But while he's doing that, let me introduce you to the other stencil. Now this one, I've had even less time than the first one. So I've got very little to share with you on this one. But this is our mini flowers stencil. So I'll give that a little lift so you can hopefully see this. So it's like a starburst flower, which I think is quite cool. And again, this is going to fit within your lattice. So it's all about bringing that in and mixing and matching if you wish to. And I'll bring this sample in for you. I've embossed the flowers and then over the top stamped the lattice. Now, when we talk about a pattern match stamp, there is a join approximately here, but I can't see it and hopefully you can't either. And that to me is what we need with our stamps. You know, we can always cover bits up, we can always distract the eye from them, but it's nice if we don't have to. And with pattern match stamping, you can usually join them quite clearly and make that work really lovely. Pete has gone and rescued me. Thank you, Peter. So I'll show you these quickly. This is our heart stencil used within the lattice. So we're getting the gemstone texture paste. We have got the lattice bought in with the elephant grey. Then we've got our rose on the top here. And of course, we've done lots of mats and layers between all of the nesting squares. So it just sort of brings everything together and gives you a slightly different effect. And then to show you a different idea, going more monochromatic, we've gone for silver, black and white. And again, we've used the gemstones texture paste through here and stamped the lattice in black and then brought in the panel to go on the top of it. So it doesn't matter which stamps we're working with. It doesn't even have to be this release. It's more about building up and giving you that background element to really make that sort of pop. And of course, I've been working with texture paste, but you could, of course, be working with inks and different bits like that through these stencils instead. So it stays more flat and then you can build up from there if you want to. So it's just a different concept. A couple more here using, which have just been literally drying. I don't even know if they're, oh, I think they're all right. But these are ones I'm working on at the moment, but just showing you a couple of the flower one used with our texture paste, just waiting to be stamped as well. But I might not stamp them, I might leave them as they are because they're really fun backgrounds as it is. But if you want to bring that lattice stamp in, then of course you can match that up and stamp that perfectly over the top. So it all coordinates through. Okay, so they're two of the new stencils. So what have we done so far? We've done 3 A6 stamps, 3 DL stamps, and 2 stencils. There's still more to go. There is still more to go. We're doing well. We're only half hour through. So let's pop this lot off to one side for the second, and we'll bring in some more new goodies. Now, I've told you there are some dies as well, haven't I? Oh, should we do the dies? Let's, trying to think now. Let's do another stencil. This one's a fun stencil. Let's take you to a different stencil. I need a bigger room, Peter, or I need to be more organised. Let's put this lot over here for the second, because I'll show you it as a little run through again shortly. So our next stencils, no more new stencils. I love a stencil. There is so much you can do with a stencil. These are fun. These are our Dotty line stencil set, and they are in 1mm, 2mm, 3mm and 4mm. And I'm going to see if I can find mine so you can see them. What these are lines of dots so that you can bring in your inks and your texture pastes and run them down them to create really cool borders. Now, I'm going to be honest here, for many years I've used tiny little gems that are stuck in lines, and they're great and they're fun and they're perfect, but you can't always coordinate a gem or a pearl or a rhinestone to the same colours as what you've been using through the rest of your project. So it's more about being able to bring in and save a bit of money, hopefully, but bring in exactly the same ink you've been using or exactly the same texture paste you've been using throughout the rest of your project and put it together in this format with a matching border. And with the four different sizes, you can see you've really got all the way down to the finest dots we can do, right the way up to quite chunky ones. Now, of course, these are in line format, but you can just mask off one dot if you wish to and use that in your corners to save you using pearls or gems for those instead if you wish. You can, of course, emboss them. So if you'd like raised lines, you can use them in that format as well. You could ink on your stencils and then emboss that, and this would give you this style of effect. We might try and do that in a minute so I can show you what I mean more. But this is inking on the stencil, stamping on the stencil, then sending it through the embossing machine so that it embosses it, gives you that depth of dot but letter presses what you've stamped and inked. I'll try and show you that in a minute so you can see it. Should we do it now? Let's do it now, shall we? No. Been indecisive today. Usually I'm not indecisive. Today I'm indecisive. We'll come back and we'll demo those in a minute. But we'll show you the remainder of the stencils. If I show you all of the products, then we can have a little play session for like 10 minutes maybe. If I don't waffle too much, we'll have like 10 minutes of just playing around and seeing what the products actually do. So moving on to more stencils. Let's see if I can reach these. Let's see if I can go get these over. So again, new concept for you from us. We are bringing you frame stencils. Oh, let me just see if I can get in. Sorry, stuck. There you go. My wheels are moving. We're back moving. So these, I'm going to bring them out of the packet. I should have thought to do this. Please forgive the rustling. Let's have a little look. Oh, Judy likes the dot stencils. They are fab, but you're going to have a lot of fun with them. Oh, I never showed you any samples, did I? So go back. Where were we? Forget these ones. Look at these. These are our dots actually used with our texture paste. So 4 different size dots going down here to give you the different ideas with your texture paste. So lots of depth for those as well. If I bring these in on project form, so again, another tag. I keep saying this, I'm a bit carried away with tags. Using the gemstones, texture paste going down the edge there, lots of gemstones really. Bringing in another little one here for you, just showing you how simple this can be. I'm quite cluttered in my crafting, I genuinely am. You know, we all know our styles. I'm quite cluttered, but this could be very cool for a clean and simple card. It really doesn't have to be too heavy. It could just be that line and a sentiment and maybe a little flower or a butterfly or something. This is quite stripped back for me, but you could go further with it if you would like to and be less heavy. Another little one here, same concept, same idea, different size dot with a little butterfly and flowers brought in. And I've just coloured my flowers with alcohol markers to match in with the Larry Marl of the gemstones texture paste. And then another tag. I really have got tag heavy. So tag again, stamped, coloured in with alcohol markers, and then the little gemstones line done down the side here. Now I keep doing lines with them, but you could of course do borders, you could of course do frames with them. So it's where you want to stop with it really. And of course when you're using texture paste, if you want to join it up, you're going to wait for one colour to dry before you do the next line. If you were doing inks, you wouldn't have to worry about that. So maybe with inks, you might want to do more sort of fun backgrounds and bits and really go to town with them. But actually for the texture paste, I just really like a line. That's what I've done for a long time with like pearls or gems on a line. So it's kind of replicating that style, but quickly and easily. And as I said earlier, hopefully saving you a few pennies on buying stick-on and self-adhesive bits. And again, making sure it matches exactly what you've been doing in your project. So then, back to where we was. We were talking frame stencils, weren't we? So we're onto the frame stencils. These are our circle frame stencils. And in here, we get 4 sizes. And these nest back together perfectly so that, again, you've got lots of options. Now, you might be looking at these and wondering, what do I need these for? Why do I want these? Oh, I've got a question. What is the size of the tag with the red flowers? That's a very good question. I'm going to guess, Judy, you mean this one? If we compare, I don't know, I've got a rule, Pete. Pete's handed me A4 card, as in like that's a good. Oh, good. Okay, I thought it was for this. Thank you. Thanks, Pete. I like that. It's so funny because I try and mind read a little bit. You see the face sort of change and he sort of goes to get something and I've got no idea. As normal, I'm like 5 steps behind. We'll measure it with this one actually, Judy, because I feel you might prefer inches because I believe that's what America uses, isn't it? Inches? Our inches, aren't they? Yeah. So size-wise for this one, 4 inches by 8 inches. But these come in packs of 3 and you get 3 different sizes. I don't know if I've got all 3 sizes here. Oh, I have. There we go. So that's not right. That isn't right, Peter. Is that right? I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. There's another one up. We do a lot of tags. There we go. That's not the same tag, but it'll give you an idea of the style. The tag tops change between the different styles. So this one, to give you a size guide with this one, is 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. Then we did that one, didn't we? And then your largest one is about 9 3/4 by approximately 5 inches. And in your packs, do you get 2 of each of these? You do, don't you? 2 of each of the sizes. And then, as I say, there's 3 different tops currently. You've got this top, and then you've got more of a traditional tag top, which looks like that one. And they're all available already, but they will be on Create and Craft next week. I love these. They're something I keep going back to and playing around with. So yeah, lots of fun with those. And I love using them in their natural state as such. It's like leaving them as the sort of MDF they start off with. But of course you can paint them with gessos and bits if you prefer. So going back to our circles, so with these, what are these about? Why did I want these? Few reasons for these. First of all, we can take a larger stencil. So if we take a bigger stencil and we decide that we don't want to use all of it, or that we'd prefer to change the style of it, you can lay this over the top and you've got enough room with your blending brush that you're not going to get any of the outside area, you're going to keep to a circle. So you might wish to spotlight certain areas and create different pieces like that. You might wish to go for the larger ones and do the same. Another thing I like doing with these is inking them and then letter pressing with them. We might try and do a couple of these bits shortly if we get a chance. And then another thing that I wanted to share with you, but I can't see where I've put it, is layering these together. So if you've done your first layer, you've gone through with texture paste already, maybe, or you've gone through with ink, like the example I want to share with you if I find it, or if not, I'll show it to you on TV next week, I promise. But you can ink through the first layer, then put texture paste through the top layer, and then when you remove it, you've got like a double depth to your texture paste, and that works really nicely because you've got the 2 different heights. You can also, oh, here's one of the, oh, here we are. I've found them, they're right beside me. So this one, for instance, is taking the kaleidoscope butterfly, embossing it, leaving the stencil in place, inking through the top of it, then with the stencils, the circle stencil still over the top of that, putting clear texture paste through it. I'll try and show you that so that you know what I mean, because that was a bit confusing. But it means we can build up and create more depth and more layers by being able to spotlight smaller areas. So again, we'll try and have a little play and do that. Another one I'm not going to show you today because it's hopefully relatively easy, but we can revisit it in a future one if needed, if anyone's got any questions. But this one is literally taking the circle, laying it on, applying clear texture paste over the middle, and then bringing in pixie powders, dropping them over the top, misting with water, and then removing that stencil. Now I could have masked off this outer area. I should have thought of that. I could have brought in the larger circle and placed that round there, and it would have masked that area off as well. So I would have ended up more of a clean area. But actually I quite like having this halo effect to it, and I think I might cut that into a square, add some stamping in the corners. I might even go back, put that back in place and add some more pixies around the edges, so you've got that really sort of clean circle around there to play with and build up on. Just different ideas for you, but ways to play. And we give you, again, 4 sizes within the circles so that you've got quite a bit of scope to play with. If we bring in just a couple of cards to give you some ideas of what you can be doing with these. So this one's letter pressing with it, like we'll hopefully show you shortly. This one's spotlighting, so bringing that circle in, placing it down, inking over the top of it, then stamping and adding in some details with a white gel pen. Very similar idea here, using the large circle to just mask off from the rest of the panel, and then inking that, stamping on top of it, building up that picture. And then another one here, spotlighting in on one of our already released stencils. So laying the stencil down, placing the circle over the top, just adding ink through the top of it, and then adding some white marks with a gel pen. This is one of the cards I'm hoping to demo on Create and Craft next week, just so I can show you in a little bit more detail how that actually works and how that layers, to give you an idea. Then we move on from those, and there's a reason why. There's always reasons why. But not only are we going to bring you circles in this format, I'm going to put them back in the packet so that when we run through them again in a minute, you'll get to see all of the items together before I lose them. We're also going to do exactly the same for you in squares. So this again is about being able to spotlight down on smaller areas, letter pressing, using them in similar ways to what you do jelly plates as well. And again, giving you that area to infill the texture paste so you can then add more to it if you want to, or maybe you want to stamp a background and then just add like a clear texture paste to add like a glaze over the top of that square. That's going to work quite nicely for you. So something fun you can play around with. So circles and squares are our frame collection, again launching on Create and Craft next week. Then to go with those in a kind of way, we bring in dies. So this time we're only bringing out 2 dies in this release. There's lots more dies coming in time, but we're going to bring out 2 dies in this collection. And these are, again, going to be in squares and circles, but we're going to start off with the circles. These are a bit different. These are our circular frames. Now, again, I always like to think of what questions you might have. If you've got any, then ask them. Absolutely here to answer them for you. But if I can think of them before I have to make you ask them, I'll try to. So these dies are really about making your life easy. That's the best way I can describe them. We're bringing you lots of nesting shapes. So of course you can take nesting shapes, you can put them together and you can cut them to create frames. We know that, I agree with that. But actually, if we could make them easier for you to use, if we can make sure that every time you cut these, they're going to be perfectly level, perfectly right, perfectly framed, we can do more with them because we can match them up and we can build with them in larger ways. So with these sets, we are bringing you 7 dies, all that are going to cut out and form for you the perfect frame. Not only do you get the perfect frame, you also get the perfect circle from the insert. So you might wonder, why do I need that? What do I want to do with that? Well, this creates the ability to create interlocking mechanisms. So if you want to do like gatefold cards and you want to put one side of this on each side of your gatefold card, that's going to lock back together, sit flat, but come apart separately really easily. It's just one of the things I really like doing with these, and I'll show you some samples of them shortly. But not only are we bringing you circles in these, we're also bringing you squares. So again, and I've lost the packet because I'm starting to get to the stage now that I'm in chaos, but there is a square set as well. So square frames and circle frames, both of these have 7 dies in each of them. And these aren't hellishly expensive. They're more of a value die in my mind, so that you can add these and not worry that you possibly could be doing this with another product. You're just going to enjoy the benefit of not having to worry that they're going to be tricky to create, because I've tried creating frames with any sort of nesting dies and it's nice to make it simple. So if I bring this in, this is one of our little interlocking cards. So with this one, as you can see, that middle panel has been stamped with our script, but it matches up perfectly and interlocks. On the outside of the cards, I've stamped using our Floral Melody. Oh, thank goodness it's in front of me. Floral Melody stamp, and then I've just added a little butterfly in the middle. But they're just quite cute little cards that work really fun. And then another idea is turning them into pyramage as such. So again, cutting them all together, which you can easily do because they can just sit on your sheet, similar to what I've got here, cut out together and then foam pad up at different heights. I've actually chose to leave a couple of mine out so you can see the break points in them, but that's quite a fun way to use the squares. And then another little one here just showing you that interlocking mechanism. So if I stand that up, that might show it slightly better, but it just means that they're going to come apart and create that locked mechanism really easily, which is something I found quite fun to play with. And then I should have here for you just a couple with circles as well to give you some ideas. So this one's fun because these are also when we cut out. So with this one, I'd stamped the background, then I brought in the circle dies, laid them on and cut them out. So I've removed those areas and I've foam padded these back into the places that they were. But the circles that come out, so where the white is, I've taken those bits and layered those over the top of this panel. So I've got 2 cards out of one thing, gone off in 2 very different styles. One foam padding them up, the second one gluing them down and actually inking them and distressing them so that we create this texture and depth over the top of the panel instead. But this is the great bit about having exactly the same stamp already laid out for us, because when we start cutting out of this, we know that what comes away is going to match up perfectly with that one. So it's just a great way for you to be able to interchange and build up. And then similar concept here, but slightly different. Panel again, and then I've cut that circle out. I've lowered the actual frame and then foam padded in the panel to the center. So it just creates a bit more interest and a bit more depth going on with that project. And I've done this on top of black card, so you've got that little black halo coming out from around the circle and underneath the frame as well. So it's just a different way to play around with these. They also fit very nicely, or the circles especially, fit very nicely inside our foiled inkable frames. So a nice little one put round here with just our rose added in on the side there. So I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, Pete, we've done 3 A6 stamps, 3 DL stamps, 2 frame stencils, the line stencil, and 2 lattice stencils, and the 2 dies. That is the lot. That is all of your new goodies, which will be launching on Create and Craft next week. So just again, in case you've missed it, Tuesday, 8th of October, 6 PM and 9 PM, and then Wednesday, the 9th of October, 10 AM and 2 PM. So Tuesday the 8th, 6 and 9, and Wednesday the 9th, 10 and 2. So lots to get through, lots to share with you. And I'll try and do a couple of bits for you now. I don't want to keep you here forever, but we'll have a little play and I'll show you a couple of the products actually working, so you can see what they're doing and why they're doing it, or what we want to try and achieve with them. But if you've got any questions, let me know, because I can answer them for you right now. But that shows you an overview of all of the bits. We'll try and run through them quickly at the end just so you can see them again. But if you've got questions, let me know. What have we got going on in the comments, Pete? Anything I've missed? Baked beans on toast for Christmas dinner for us now. Sorry, Mary. I know we are bringing out quite a lot of goodies at the moment, aren't we? I'm sorry. Deborah, I've decided that no one will be getting any Christmas presents from me this year. All my pennies will be going on these wonderful collections. Well, that's kind of lovely to hear. And for your family, I'm kind of sorry. Maybe make them some really lovely cards to make up for it. Maybe that might work. They might forgive you. Judy, I'm totally overwhelmed with all these new ideas. That is lovely to hear. Mary, amazing collection of cards with this collection. Thank you for showing them. We've got a lot more to share with you, to be honest. There's some behind me you might be able to spot. There's the design team, so I've got lots coming from Lynn, lots coming from Ian, and a few that I haven't brought up because I want to save a few bits for the shows. So lots of bits to share with you there as well. Mary, those dotty stencils and circles and ovals, please. Maybe, Mary, maybe. We have to start somewhere. I don't think there's many products we're bringing out at the moment where there isn't plans that more will come in that theme or that collection. So yes, maybe, we'll see. Nancy, good evening, welcome. Lovely to have you with us. Wendy, can't wait for those shows now and then to put an order in once available from the shop. Oh, shouldn't really read that, should I? But it is worth always mentioning that our stockists are incredible, and this, of course, will, stock permitting, be available from the stockists later on. So, yes. Okay, let's play, shall we? We've waffled enough, or I've waffled enough. You lot have been very patient. Let's just show you a couple of little techniques. So let's take you back over to the head so you can see what we're doing. Should we play around with a tag to begin with? Because I'm slightly taken by doing these. So let's play with some stamps and build up a tag quickly, because I think this is something fun to do. Now, where have I added? I've done it again. I haven't brought up my big stamp platform, but do not fear, I'm going to confess what I'm doing an awful lot of recently, and that is reaching for one of the plates from my machine to use as a stamping plate, because it's a perfect plate. It is resourceful, Peter. It is very resourceful, and it's very helpful, and it's something I've actually found really good, because if having an oversized plate means your hands, or my hands, my little short fat fingers, aren't in the way when I come to actually stamp and I can see what I'm doing. So we'll ink this stamp up. So we're using the Latin script, which of course is from the new collection. And we're going to use one of the MDF tags, and we're going to start off by stamping this down. Now I'm going to be lazy and I'm not going to jump around too much because I'll probably hit my head on the camera. So we'll give it a good push and see how we get on. Oh, that's not too bad. We'll do another one over the top bit. I really shouldn't ink over the top of the MDF. That's probably not going to help me overall effect. And then we'll go for the top part of this as well. So just building up the background slightly, bringing in that sort of back area to it. And then we'll get rid of this stamp for the second. We'll remove the Latin one and we'll bring in the lattice. So if you're with me still, I always expect you all to do a runner. But if you're still with us, let us know, what's your favourite bit? What bit are you looking forward to the most? What are you looking at and thinking I'm going to get real use from that? What bits have you got questions about? If you're with us, we're live. We can answer these questions for you, and I can show you in more detail anything that you'd like to know. And Pete is on hand to read any questions out. So don't hesitate to make him work a little.
No rest, is there?
No rest, no rest at all. We've had a fun day, haven't we, Pete? We've had wool delivered to be put away and products arriving for Jamie Rodgers Crafts, and we've been trying to.
Goodies as well.
Oh, I don't know if we can tease them with even more new goodies, Peter. We can't go too far. There's always something on the horizon. There's always something coming up, isn't there? So where have I put my stamp press, Pete? Oh, there it is, right in front of me. So we're going to move on. So we've done our lattice bit. We're now going to bring in our large rose stamp. And a little trick that I like to work on is if I put the magnets around the MDF, because obviously the magnet isn't going to work through the MDF, but if I put them around the edges, even if anything moves, I'm going to know where it's come from and I can hopefully go back to where I was. So it's just a little way to make sure that everything's there. You could, of course, especially with this stamp, because I'm only doing a small proportion of it, I could add some low-tack tape to hold it in place, but we're going to wing it and see. We'll see how we get on. And we're going to add that down on the top there. And then straight away, so if I give you a little lift there, we can see already we've built this up quite a bit, quite quickly. And then I'm just going to bring in an alcohol marker and do a small bit of colouring. So you can see this red over the top, because we're going to colour the rose in red, will blend quite nicely into the background. And we're not going to see that come through, even with the green of the leaves. Now our inks are alcohol ink friendly, so they're not going to bleed into what we're colouring or what we're doing, which is great. It also means that the black will stay prominent even though we're going over the top of this, even on MDF. Have I missed any questions or comments, Pete, while I'm colouring? Oh, good. That's all right then.
Goodies going in baskets.
Oh, is there? Has anyone confessed yet what their favourite item is? It's always nice to know what your favourites are. I know what my favourites are, but it's much more exciting to know what your favourites are. What bits you're looking forward to getting hold of? What bits you want to play with? Where do you think you're going to be taking this collection? Are you a flower person? Do you like flowers? Do you like crafting with flowers? I suppose as the end of the year approaches, to me it's always quite nice to think, well, if I bring out a collection that I know now we can start next year with afresh, you know, the roses are going to be great for Valentine's if that's something we're working on, or feel that we make cards for. And then of course Easter's never far away, so some nice bright florals work quite nice for Easter. And then of course birthdays, Mother's Day. It's one of those collections that hopefully will come in for all of those events. So you're probably getting the idea quite quickly that how easy this is to build one of these up. I'm not being too precise because I don't want you to watch me colour all of this and take forever. We'll just add in a small bit down here onto these leaves. And then with this, what I tend to do is bringing back my black ink pad and just rub round the edges, just to tone down the sides of the tag. Now what's quite nice with this, because we haven't treated the MDF, we haven't put a gesso or anything like that over the top of it, even if we want to brush over the top, MDF has got quite a nice feel to it, hasn't it? It's got quite a nice texture to it. So even if you brush over the top of it, you don't end up with it being too dark. It just takes on that sort of fibrous feel to it and kind of distresses it and takes it down slightly, which I think can work quite nicely. And there we have a very quick attempt at a tag. Now, if you start adding your ribbons into these, if you start dressing them up with your little finished verses, maybe you want to double stamp the background like I did on that one, or add in the little line going down the side here. They're all fun things that you can do to bring them forward even further. Now those lines, I did want to play with those. Let's bring in one of those to show you as well, because I think it might be nice for you to see how easy and fun these are to work with. So we'll go for one of our gemstones texture paste, and we're going to work with pink sapphire. We're going to take a small amount of this out. And when you're working with these lines, go for less. I again, quite messy, tend to really delve in, think, well, I can always put it back in the jar. But actually, the less you're using, the easier it is to control and to keep in place as you go down the actual stencil. So if we just go straight down this bit, all the way to the end there, we're going to see just how lovely and delicate that line is, straight from the stencil. There we go. How easy and effective, and how pretty and delicate is that little line. This is the 1mm from the stencil, so don't forget there's a 1mm, 2mm, 3mm and 4mm. Now I'll pop my stencil into some water so that that can be soaked away. And then the last thing I felt we'd have a little play with, just something quick, because I'm very conscious of time. I think I'm already approaching my hour. Say this like I'm going to get in trouble if I go over the hour. But it's more I'm conscious I don't want to keep you all here all night, because when I get carried away, we could be here for a while. So let's let's change what we was going to do. We will go for using this stencil, and we will bring in some mats. Let me find the right mats. And we will emboss the stencil first of all. So this one isn't a new stencil. This is our kaleidoscope butterflies. We'll lay some card over the top of that one. We'll add the mat over the top of this, and we'll add the top plate over that, and we'll send it through the machine. Now this stencil come out with our very first release. This was the Essential Die collection this one come out with. So again, already out there are all of the stockists, and if they haven't got it, they can certainly order it for you. So just check in with your favourite stockist. This one isn't going on Create and Craft next week, so you might need to track a stockist down for that one, but I'm sure it will appear back on Create and Craft at some point. Now, one that's gone through, of course, we have got our beautiful embossing done with this. We're actually going to match this up and keep our stencil in place for the next bit. So we can remove the mats for a second, keep those in place, and find, let's go for one of our circles. We will go for, here we are. We're going to go for this circle. We're going to spotlight the middle of this panel. So we're going to bring in some low tack tape, just so that I don't have to try and hold everything in one place at the same time. And we'll anchor down the original stencil as well as the new one that we've just put on, the circle. And we're going to bring in a blending brush, and we'll grab some ink. So I'm going to use an oxide ink for this, if I can find one. Here we are. So we'll use Uncharted Mariner. And we'll pick some of this up. Just go over the hour, Jamie. Delaying doing the dishes. Oh, Julie, that's great. Oh, that's good. As long as I'm not holding you up from anything too exciting. Nobody needs to do the dishes. We do the dishes, don't we? And they just come back tomorrow. Oh, that's the proverbial we, Peter. Yes, that's the proverbial we. So, but the dishes are done, and they do just reappear, don't they? They do just reappear, magically cleaned back in the cupboard, fresh as a daisy for tomorrow. The live I did the other day, we was talking quite a lot about hoovering, so that is something I do.
Oh yeah, I've got to get a shark.
Yeah, we've got to get a shark. I haven't yet gone and looked for a shark. Pete come home, I was like, I did a live today, Pete, and they reckon I need a shark hoover. He just looked at me in that sort of disapproving, why were you talking about hoovers on your live look? But we had a proper little chat about hoovers. We did. Went over quite a little tangent about hoovers.
Never leave you alone.
I should never be left alone. It was one that I was left alone for, hence why I didn't know. But yeah, now that I've got the setup, lives are a problem. They
need to know who the
sort of,
team leaders are on this group.
yeah, yeah, who's sort of causing the problems for us. So, okay, all I'm doing now, clear texture paste, taking that, adding this over the top. Now, because we're working over the top of the first stencil, we've got the first height there, haven't we? Now, we embossed that stencil, so we've cut down on the depth of the stencil, but if we put the clear texture paste over the top, we'd have it at one height. Because we've put the donut or the circle stencil in place, we're working on a double height. So we have quite thick stencils. They're a thicker mylar than traditional stencils are made from. So we're really stepping this up, and we're working on top of embossed work as well. So clear texture paste straight over the top. I'm using one of these little scraper things, which is great. Now, because I'm working with oxide ink, there is a chance that's going to reactivate, because obviously that likes water and moisture. I'm not worried about that, because of things like that don't really bother me. Most of my crafting is kind of chaotic, as you can probably see by my desk. But if you're worried, use a small amount of this, don't put it back in the same jar. I know that the next time I'm going to use this, I'm going to be probably adding pixie powders and sparkles and bits to it. So a little bit of colour never really hurts in my mind. But if it's something that bothers you, then small amounts and don't contaminate. Once we've done that, we can then start removing our stencils. Now we don't have to take the first one off, because when we take off the bottom stencil as such, in one go, we will have that double height texture paste added over the top of our embossing. So we've got great depth, and we've spotlighted. Can you see the depth? I'm hoping you can see the depth. It literally steps up. It is that prominent, where we've got double height texture paste on top of embossing, on top of blending. And again, you think about bringing in a square die around that, maybe some of the corner dies, maybe a little flower on there. That could be very simply built up and turned into quite a lovely card. So I'll save this and I will turn it into a card before we go to air, so you can see what I mean. But even if we hadn't have done the texture paste, we could have just done this style of effect and created it on sort of just with inks on more of a flat basis. We would have ended up with this style. So one last thing I'm going to show you, technique-y wise, because I'm aware I've got 4 hours to waffle on telly next week. So we'll just do a quick stencil one again. This time we're going to work on the larger circle, and we're going to bring in a piece of paper to protect my desk, if I can reach one. Here we are. And we're going to place that down, and we're going to go back to oxide inks. Now, one of the bits I love with oxide inks is how wet they stay, so that we can add to them and play around with them without them drying. So I'm going to go for dried marigold. I'm going to take this and place this all over the stencil, trying not to get my desk. Now, this isn't the traditional way you would imagine I would be telling you to use a stencil. Normally it's about marking off what's underneath, a bit like the last sort of mini demo. But this time we're going to letterpress with our stencil. So I want quite a bit of ink on here, because I know that the next stage is going to take me a second to do. So I want that to stay nice and wet while we work on the next level. If you were worried about the ink in the background, do this over like a non-stick mat, so you could take that and blend that to make your mats and layers. I'm just trying to be quick and stay tidy, but don't be wasteful with your inks if you don't wish to be. You know, you can absolutely store that and use that again, or work with it before it sets. And we're going to do this with a stamp block for speed, and we're going to bring in a stamp. Now, what one do I want to work with? Shall we go with, let's go, maybe we might do the rose actually. That wasn't what I was planning, but it might be nice to do the rose. We'll have a little go with this one, and we'll ink this up. Oh, hello Hazel, don't apologise you're late, don't worry. This stays on Facebook now forever. Whatever mistakes I make are permanent, so there's no problem. We can always catch up at a later date. I always think it's quite bizarre to think that the world stops to come and join in with my waffling for an hour or however long. So don't ever worry about being live. Just come to it when you get chance, if you get chance. It's always good if you come later as well, because then that way you can fall for all my waffling if you wish to. So we could just follow this round in one circle, which would be quite pretty, but I think it might be nicer if we top and tail them as such to create more of a fun effect. Now this of course is the largest ring within the set, so you might want to take this down a step and do it more card friendly. I'm, as I say, quite big with this, so it might be more that we're going to use this on a scrapbook page or something similar. Now the next stage we're going to do with this is we're going to put it into our machine and we're going to emboss it. Now I mention this because of obviously when we transfer the ink, which is what we're doing with this, you're going to see the ink more than you're going to notice the embossing. But these are great for also embossing frames with. I might even try and show you that actually, because I think that's something I kind of overlook. Now, oh, that weren't too bad. Considering this is really being made up as I go, and this is only something I started playing around with today at about 3 o'clock. So it's a bit more ropey, this demo, or this example. But to be honest, I'm amongst friends, and if it goes terribly wrong, it's not really the end of the world, is it? It's more about us sharing ideas and seeing if I can plant some seeds to see what you're going to create with this. I always tell you this, but it's more about what you create with it that's more exciting than about what I create with it. as a designer, that's the most exciting bit, is seeing where you go. Can I have a card, please? We're trying to desperately silently pass me card, and he's giving paper. Not his problem, my problem. So we'll add on a piece of card to the top of this, and we're going to add on the rubber mat back onto the top of that one. And again, if this isn't something you've seen done before, the rubber mat's going to push the card down onto the stencil, so it will emboss it for us. It will, of course, also apply pressure to that ink, and by applying pressure to the ink, it will hopefully transfer it from the stencil onto the card. Now, I took a bit of time to do this. So, and depending on what inks you're working with, if the ink is still wet, great, go for it, see how you get on. If the ink has started to dry, then give it a bit of a mist with water. If you've used a water-based ink as such, then you should find that that ink will be perfect to be misted, and by misting it, you should then find that it will transfer slightly nicer. So there we go. That is, I did this the other day, didn't I? Can you see it? Doesn't it look lovely? Should we try the other camera? Let's try, there we go. So there we have it. So the ink's transferred, our stamped impression has gone into the ink as well, so that we end up now with this perfect circle marked out brilliantly for us to then build up on top of. Now we could choose at this stage to bring back in the next circle, and we could do very similar with that one, or we could say, well, actually we're going to step down to the following circle, and we're going to work with that one instead, and we're going to place that back into the middle. If I could find it, I'd show you it, but I haven't got one. I don't know where I've lost it. But we could step down with the next one, or we could even put in, because we've got all of the sizes in the set, we could even go for that solid centre and do something similar in there, and then infill the rest of this area if you would prefer. So many ways in which you could take this and print with it, letterpress with it. But of course, like I said, it does also emboss pretty nicely. So I've got a few bits of ink that are on my mats from my earlier attempts and plays, but actually having this really crisp circle to work with could be quite good fun for you to then build up with. So I'm conscious now that I've gone over my hour. I've hopefully shown you just a couple of little tips and techniques. We've got like 24 demos that are planned for next week. So we'll go into on the shows more of playing with the stamps and the stencils and the matching bits. But if you've got any questions, then let me know. If you've come late to this and you've got questions, then let me know, and I will try and answer them in the comments after I've sort of stopped waffling. But of course, I'll be on Create and Craft on Tuesday at 6 PM and 9 PM, and then I will be back in on Wednesday at 10 AM and 2 PM. So we've got 4 hours to sort of really dig in deep and sort of run through this. I'm going to do a quick recap of the products. So if you have joined late, you can see what we're talking about. If you've already watched me waffle for all this, you might wish to say goodnight, and that'd be lovely to see as well. But while I'm waffling about this one, if you have any questions about what I've shared with you, or anything you'd like to see, or any questions about the products, then please let me know and I'll try and answer them before I say goodnight. So let's recap quickly. So in the collection then, we are talking the Floral Wonder Collection, and there is going to be 6 stamps. You have got your main focal flower, you have got your main rose flower. We then find they will reappear in our background, so one of our pattern match stamps, giving you the ability to stamp in all directions from that pattern. Then we have for you our I've missed one. Our corner stamps, which complete that collection. So again, you've got your elements to go on the inserts, or your tags to match in with your focal points, to go with your backgrounds. And then on top of that, you've got 2 other stamps. You've got your Latin script stamp, which of course is the perfect background to go behind your flowers. And you've got your Lattice stamp as well. Now with the Lattice stamp, we then introduce you to 2 stencils that match up perfectly and go with the Lattice stamp. And I say 2 stencils, but I seem to have lost one. There is a lovely heart one as well. I don't know where I've put it, but there's a heart one. It's here somewhere. But there is, no, I've got the pat plate, but I haven't got the stencil. Have you had it? Have you taken it from my desk? They probably dropped it on the floor. So you've got flowers and you've got hearts, and they will match up perfectly to go within the Lattice, so it all coordinates together. And then moving from there, we've got the stencils we were just looking at in squares and circles, and we have got our border dotty line stencils in 1mm, 2mm, 3mm and 4mm. And then to cap all of that off, something else I've lost is the dies. I found the other stencil. That's our heart stencil. And then on top of that, we have got our 2 dies, which are our squares and our circles to create the most perfect frames, delicate frames. Again, I said this earlier, I'm not a clean and simple card maker. I tend to be quite OTT in my style, more maximalist than minimalist. But if you are somebody into clean and simple, I feel that just popping that onto a card, happy birthday in the middle and a flower on the corner could look lovely. But if you want to take it further and really build them out into bigger concepts, bigger cards, bigger styles, then of course that's going to work for you in this format as well. So it just hopefully gives you a collection that you're going to be able to work with in many different ways, whether you're a stamper, you're a stenciler, you're a die cutter, or an all-round crafter. So let's have a little look. Have we missed anything? Let's see. Looks fab, Margaret. Thank you very, very much. Judy, great. Thank you, Jamie and Pete. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real joy to be with you all this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next Thursday at 7 p.m. as well. No new launches, but we'll do a few of the demos that are left over from the shows to give you a bit more inspiration as well when your bits are starting to arrive with you. So Thursday, 7 p.m, we will do another live to give you some more help there. Maureen, that's clever, thank you very much. I love doing letterpressing with stencils. It's something I've not really seen done before, but really fun. Lots of different ways we can take that. Get well soon, Peter. Oh, that's nice. See you next week. I've lost you again, Wendy. See you next week on TV. Yeah, I'll see you next week. Lovely. Hello, Tony. You're a bit late, but don't panic. You can watch from the beginning. It's on here. It won't go anywhere. Catch up when you wish to. Andrew. Thanks, Jamie, inspirational as usual. Good night to you and Pete. Good night. Carol, such inspiration, Jamie. Thank you and good night to you both. And lovely collection from Sam. Thank you. And looks like a lovely collection, Diane. Thank you all very much. Okay, I'm going to stop trying to read you all now and I'm just going to say good night. Thanks for joining us and I'll see you on Tuesday, if not before. Thanks a lot. It means the world that you've joined us and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Bye for now, all of you.